My name is Samantha Imber, and today I will be presenting my research on the COVID-19 impacts on Suffolk University's peer tutoring program. Additionally, I will be providing implications for the Center of Learning and Academic Success, or CLAS, for how to best support Suffolk students throughout this global pandemic, because although medical and technological advancements have been made in light of the pandemic, this remains a very real and volatile situation, and it's hindering students in their academic and personal endeavors. And I think it's important for Suffolk to adjust accordingly to students' needs, both in and outside of the classroom. Specifically, this research will cover how peer tutoring impacts students overall and how peer tutoring aids students in all of their academic endeavors. I'll then examine the impacts of remote learning, the biggest transitions students have had to adapt to following the COVID-19 crisis, and how students are faring with this relatively new method of learning. Although Suffolk CLAS has adapted and adjusted phenomenally to the pandemic, there's always room for improvement. In light of this research, I will make some suggestions on how CLAS can improve even more during the remote learning process, because even though we are planning to return to normal next semester, as we have seen over the last year, this virus can be highly unpredictable, and I find it extremely necessary to be fully prepared for the next shutdown, even though we hope that doesn't happen. For those who are unfamiliar with the CLAS Center, it is a department within Suffolk that provides course-based tutoring, English language tutoring, study groups, and personal statement tutoring. These services are provided by the students for the students and are available from 7 a.m. until 11 p.m., ensuring that students from all over the world can access our services at any time. There are over 400 courses available for tutoring by one of our 100 plus well-qualified tutors. But our resources don't just start and end with our tutors. CLAS even has a YouTube channel containing videos made by students for students to reference whenever they need. We also provide downloadable resources, including those on time management, study skills, note-taking, and course-specific resources made by the tutors to be referenced and used by the student at their leisure. These resources are perfect for students who may not be comfortable with face-to-face communication, or for those who may not have access to video chat features on their computer. It's easy and hassle-free to schedule an appointment with one of our tutors. Students can book through Navigate, or they can call the CLAS front desk and book an appointment that way. Appointments are available in 30 or 60-minute blocks for nearly any class that the student needs assistance with. Overall, CLAS is here to provide unparalleled resources to students and support, ensuring academic progress and improvement, skill building, and new learning opportunities and methodology. There are numerous benefits to peer tutoring academically, personally, and emotionally, and many of these benefits continue outside of the tutoring sessions. It encourages intellectual development as well as engagement in academics altogether. Especially in the midst of a pandemic, this is crucial to keeping students engaged in the learning process, and even provides them with a form of social interaction that they may not otherwise have given the social distancing guidelines. Being excited and interested in the learning process in turn helps knowledge retention, which is something students have appeared to struggle with since schools have gone remote. Other skills such as critical thinking, debating, public speaking are also grown during peer tutoring sessions, since students are encouraged to utilize these skills during sessions with their tutors. And overall, peer tutoring helps foster a deeper awareness of the learning process with students, and tutors have the unique ability to tailor their tutoring styles to fit the learning style of the tutee, ensuring that the student is learning the information in the best way that suits them, and may even be introduced to information in a new light that they may not have seen in the regular classroom. CLAS ensures that all tutors are trained to adapt and tailor their tutoring to fit the student's needs, ensuring the best learning environment possible. In this way, CLAS provides unique educational opportunities not otherwise available to students. And given that this learning takes place at a peer level, it allows students to relate and communicate with tutors in a more personal manner and foster a safe, comfortable, and relatable learning environment. As far as the transition to remote learning is concerned, tutoring has been significantly impacted, but nonetheless, CLAS has adapted its services very well to ensure that all students still have access to adequate tutoring opportunities. However, the success of this transition truly depends on the socioeconomic status of the student. This considers access to technology, a stable and fast internet connection, and other remote resources necessary for students to continue their college education from home or wherever they may be during this pandemic. Statistically, students from disadvantaged backgrounds are less likely to engage in remote learning for these reasons, and therefore are less likely to seek out peer tutoring from CLAS. This could look like students not completing assignments, not participating in class discussions, or just not attending class altogether. And this is not just due to the lack of enthusiasm for learning fostered by the pandemic, but is due to the lack of adequate technological resources needed for remote learning. Statistics also found that wealth, parental education, and location are significant in explaining access to remote learning. Due to the fact that many Suffolk students returned home once the pandemic hit, this statistic could be very applicable to many students at our university. Suffolk and many other schools have worked hard to maintain successful academia in the midst of a global pandemic. However, at the beginning, many professors struggled with or could not adapt to remote learning, and it is likely that many schools have remained in this rut. But Suffolk and CLAS have worked hard to continue to provide its students with ample academic opportunities and continued success in the classroom. Further explaining the significance of the previous reference statistic, 15% of households in the United States do not have high-speed internet. Although this statistic was gathered using data of grade school homes, this could well apply to higher education, since following the March 2020 shutdown, many students returned home once the pandemic hit. The image here included shows the correlation between income, ethnicity, and access to high-speed internet. As seen, those making less than $30,000 a year are among the most going without high-speed internet, a must for the remote learning process. It is also seen that African American and Hispanics are also the most disadvantaged when it comes to high-speed internet, with white and Asian families faring better, especially as income increases. Another interesting statistic is that 17% of teens say they are often or sometimes unable to complete assignments due to not having reliable internet connection or access to a computer. This is what's causing what's called the homework gap, which is illustrated on the figure shown here. According to the graphic, 35% of US teens have to complete their assignments using a cell phone due to not having an adequate computer available. And this number goes way higher for students who are making less than $30,000 a year, or are part of a household that are making less than $30,000 a year, as well as for Hispanic families. These demographics also fare the worst in terms of having a reliable internet connection, and are among those who must use public Wi-Fi because there's no stable or reliable internet connection at home. Due to the fact that those on lower income levels fare the worst when it comes to what is necessary to adapt to the remote learning process, the high unemployment caused by the pandemic is sure to lead to academic hardship as well as economic hardship to many students, whether it be they themselves who are unemployed or it be their parents. These students are also less likely to engage in the resources provided by CLAS, as well as peer tutoring. Having access to affordable and adequate resources is crucial to the success in remote learning, and it encourages students to seek out help within CLAS to ensure and support that success. So the transition to remote learning has caused much hardship for many students. So how can CLAS better adapt to the remote learning situation? One of the key takeaways from this research is that CLAS and Suffolk must ensure fair and equal access to remote learning opportunities for students across every background. This can be done with the help of professors utilizing free or inexpensive course materials, or using resources that are able to be found online easily. For example, my contracts textbook was found free online by one of the students in my class. She then shared the link with the professor, who shared it with the rest of the students in the course, so that we all had access to the required materials for free. Another way to ensure successful remote learning is to secure equity for all students and providing clear communications and expectations for the students. This can be done in the classroom and in the peer tutoring atmosphere. It is important for tutors to be sensitive to time zone differences, because although CLAS has adjusted its hours to ensure students from all over the world can access tutoring resources, it is crucial to be sensitive to, for example, a tutor who is awake at 7 a.m. tutoring a student who has stayed up until 11 p.m. for their appointment. And it's important for tutors to be focused and sensitive to the differing energy levels. Focus must also be emphasized on the learning, but room must also be made for compassion, understanding, and leeway in the tutoring atmosphere. It's unreasonable to expect the same output and way of learning as before the pandemic hit, when the world is so radically changed. CLAS already does a great job of training tutors in this manner, but there's always room for improvement and there's always room to grow. And even with the recent developments of the vaccine, we still don't know what the future holds. So it's crucial that Suffolk and CLAS remain prepared for anything that may happen in the future. It is important for tutors to be sensitive to a student's reluctance to use their cameras during a tutoring session. Although this presents challenges for the tutor, it is important to adapt to these situations since students could have personal or economic reasons for not using their camera. Encouraging more follow-up sessions should be emphasized as well in tutor training, because breaking learning into smaller chunks makes goals more attainable and problems being able to solve more efficiently and fosters more knowledge retention. Additionally, having more sessions in a week rather than one session encourages more productivity among students. And the social aspect of tutoring can help a student feel a sense of normalcy in the otherwise abnormal world nowadays. More study groups for more courses should be also considered, but I understand that only so many study groups can be made, but it is important for students at a similar skill level to work together with the help of a study group leader, as this helps the learning process and knowledge retention, as well as providing a social atmosphere with benefits stated previously. Reciprocal peer tutoring is a concept not new to CLAS, but it should be emphasized more with tutors, since tutors who urge students to recite knowledge back to them helps knowledge retention, and it also helps students understand the problem better, as well as identify different problem areas that may not be evident as with different tutoring methodology. Tutors are already trained in this method, but more emphasis should be placed on it, and whole sessions maybe should be devoted to reciprocal peer tutoring, although this is up to the student and the tutor depending on where they are in their tutoring relationship and where they are in the learning process. In conclusion, CLAS has adapted significantly to continue serving students in the midst of a global pandemic and has done a phenomenal job of training its tutors to do the same. But there's always room for improvement and always room to grow. Empathy, understanding, and new methods of tutoring must be explored and utilized whenever necessary. Although the learning process may be negatively impacted by the transition to remote learning, this does not mean that peer tutoring needs to be impacted in the same negative way. There are steps that CLAS can take, such as promoting the access students have to certain textbooks, emphasizing the help that they provide to students is important in ensuring equity among students from all socioeconomic backgrounds. Being sensitive to the time zone differences in many aspects can also foster better learning and knowledge retention for the student, and the reciprocal peer tutoring method should also be emphasized in training, as tutors should engage in methods more given the remote learning atmosphere. There are also different resources available throughout different departments at Suffolk that provide hotspots for Wi-Fi and loaner laptops that close that sort of technological gap and help close the homework gap. As the pandemic continues on, it's crucial for CLAS to persevere through the difficulties presented and continue to provide students with unparalleled learning opportunities. My references can be found here for anyone who wants to check out any of the sources that I used or do any more in-depth reading into what I have found and presented here. And I hope this presentation was informative into the challenges presented to colleges, not just Suffolk, amid the ongoing global pandemic. Thank you.